Okay, good. I think I might be missing a part or the complete exposition. I'm not sure. We'll find out later. Okay. Thank you for coming back. And just to readdress what Derek and you and all of you online also, that's what I was striving for with you, because I taught it on the past often in Victoria, Nanaimo, and New Life years ago. And I never went to that extent with the people of reading the text properly. I was giving the references, but I know that rare are the people that are going back to the references, and all these things basically cannot be allegorized. Okay, you know me in advance. I don't need to apologize for that. I'm very proud. I'm a dispensationalist, so therefore a literalist in the Bible, unless the Bible is asking me to take the passage allegorically. Okay. That's the difficult path to teach the scriptures, because when you allegorize many parts of it, the flood is easy. You can teach Genesis in 18.5 minutes and everything is covered properly, and that's just a joke and stuff. Okay? But here we have received an extensive and showing you these passages. And Debbie brought something good: if you obey me, but it was all ordained by God that they would disobey the Mosaic law. But when the beauty of it, it's when you have studied with me last week and the previous week the unconditional covenants. And I taught you that the covenant that is unconditional solely rests on God's shoulder to bring it to pass. The famous Mosaic law was on the shoulder of Israel: obey and I will bless you. And too many people are bringing their children today, right now, for myself as being a young child, in that kind of attitude, which has to be avoided. You cannot say to the people for the church, obey God and He will bless you. This is completely incorrect. It's incorrect. Because you can be dedicated to obedience, and then a catastrophe may occur in your family. You can get COVID and die. You can lose people. Your business can go bankrupt. Your house can caught on fire. You can lose your most precious son the morning after. What we need to understand that today is obey, because I have already blessed you. It's a complete different dimension. That's why I'm asking you in church to wear head covering. It's easy. You don't do it to be blessed. We don't need to respect the proper decorum in order to be blessed. We do it because we have already been blessed with having a Messiah in the nude hanging on the cross. And He's asking us to wear an article of clothing for half an hour. It's enough of this. Obey and I will take you to the park this afternoon, Sophia. The proper mentality: you're 3 years old, obey, because when you want 2 months old, I change your diaper. Still changing the diaper, just a different texture. Who cares about it? Molecule. Specifically the people of old age. Obey and I will bless you. Makes sense when you hear that right away. Makes sense, because that's what we have been brought up to. I need to go to church. I want to be blessed. Yucky. Walk. Because He has decided that you this and this and this. It's already granted. You don't believe it. So. There is different interpretation of it, isn't it? So do we need to take François' word? Absolutely not. I know He will live it, period. He will wave at me in the Messianic kingdom. We believe it, but really? Yeah, but. Part 17. Part 17 is very extensive. You have a mistake on your outline. Correct it now. At the bottom of page 15, the very bottom, you have E, the millennial sacrificial system. And turn on page 16, you have E again, the millennial sacrificial system. I don't want to do it twice, so scratch one. Oh, you don't? I'm the only one having the mistake. You see, you have already been blessed. I'm still behind. It's been corrected. Beautiful. Great. Okay, let's start this. Israel in the Messianic kingdom. Simply put, all the prophets have something to say about the Messianic kingdom except. All the prophets have something to say about the Messianic kingdom, with the exception of Jonah, Nahum, Habakkuk, and Malachi. All the prophets have something to say about the Messianic kingdom except 4 prophets. Jonah, Nahum, Habakkuk, and Malachi. So, having only 4 minor prophets not alluding to the Messianic kingdom, there is absolutely no reason to allegorize what's being said right now. There is no need to do that, because it's very extensive. And we will study that part together in 8 different sections, meaning from A to H. From A to H, that's why I asked, my outlines is older than yours, so that's why it's been already corrected. Okay, now we take the 4 facets of Israel's final restoration. It's going to be a bit repetitious, but we look at it to make our point. Because if you share it with your existing pastors or those who will rub shoulder in the future by teaching you Revelation, and if you share these things, they might ask you, where do you see that in the scriptures? Okay, the 4 facets of Israel's final restoration. You have first the regeneration of Israel. First, the regeneration of Israel. Simply put, it's based on the new covenant. It's based on the new covenant. We read it last week, Jeremiah chapter 31. Verses 31 to 34. They will now all know me, says Jehovah of hosts. Simply put, the basis is the new covenant. And simply put, and add, you noted that already, no Jewish evangelism in the 1,000-year kingdom. They will all know him. Jeremiah chapter 31, verses 31 to 34. This is one promise of the new covenant, the national regeneration of Israel, where it says, Marilyn, they will all know me, says Jehovah of hosts. And then you have the prophetic development, which I give you an extensive amount of references. I will read some of them. Okay? Then the prophets elaborated on that. It's the prophetic development of the Old Testament prophet. Isaiah chapter 30, verses 18 to 22. Isaiah chapter 30, verses 18 to 22. Isaiah chapter 44, verses 1 to 5. Isaiah chapter 44, verses 1 to 5. But now listen, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. Whom I have chosen. It's a national choosing. Thus says Jehovah, who made you, circle made, form, and form you from the womb, who will help you. Do not fear, O Jacob, my servant, and you, Yeshurun, whom I have chosen again. For I will pour out water on the thirsty land, and streams on the dry ground. I will pour out my spirit on your offspring, and my blessing on your descendants here. and they will spring up among the grass, and so on. So he will put his Spirit upon them. It has not arrived yet. It will be performed in the 1,000-year reign. That's the national regeneration of the people of Israel. In the same chapter 44, verses 21 to 23. Isaiah 44, verses 21 to 23. Jeremiah chapter 24, verse 7. Jeremiah chapter 24, verse 7. Listen closely. Pay close attention to the word heart. Jeremiah chapter 24, verse 7. Marilyn, I will give them a heart to know me. You see, I will give them a heart to know me. Who is the cause? It's God. Who brought you here this morning? God. You knew this morning during the night, you woke up one time, it's Saturday tomorrow, I am going to the study of Revelation. It's a God invitation here. Okay? I will give them a heart to know me because I am Jehovah. And they will be my people, and I will be their God, for they will return to me with their whole heart. Don't put the church in there. You don't need to return to him, because you will never be put in a state of divorce like Hosea. The Jewish nation right now as a nation is in the state of divorce now. In Jeremiah, he gave them a certificate of divorce. And at the end of time, when they will say, come, let us return to the Lord, and the second coming will be happening, you have the nation left, the remnant left in the 3 days of the great tribulation, and they will return to the Lord, and then they will get remarried and be his people. Don't click fit the church there. It's not going to happen, although we're part of it. But be thankful. You will never be divorced. It's a higher position. Why would you be content to be the new Jews? If you're the new Jews, you're in the state of divorce. It's plainly impossible to be the new Jews. You are church saints, and the position of a church saints, it's a higher position of any Old Testament saint. Christ abide in you. You are the temple of the living God, and there will never be an ikavod. The glory has departed. Wow! Say wow with me, please.
Yes. Wow.
This is greater.
Well, we're not there anyway, because we've been raptured.
No, this is, we've been raptured, but it's not my point right now. My point is not to go, how many times you hear that, oh, read Jeremiah, this is us there. No, except when it's you. No, except when it's you. And if it's you, when it's, you will be a blessing to all the nations, Abraham. Now it's you. It's just what, your small group Bible study is a trap for false teaching. It's not proper unless it's overseen, oversight exercise into it. Because they take, this moment I say, don't look anxiously because I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. It's beautiful. But keep it in the context for the sake of the heavenlies. And then you try to teach this and this. Oh, I'm nowhere to be seen. You are everywhere to be seen. You're the bride of the Messiah. And your bridegroom will not turn his face away from you. When he should, maybe, but he won't. Zephaniah. Zephaniah chapter 3. Yeah, there is a book in the Bible called Zephaniah. Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 13. I would read 9 to 13, but I'm not. I'm going to give you 13. The remnant of Israel will do no wrong. If we are the remnant of Israel, how come we do wrong? The remnant of Israel will do no wrong. Will, is that will in English a future tense construction? The remnant of Israel will do no wrong and tell lies. None of you tell lies. You went for an exam. You went to the doctor, you went to the hospital. They ask you, lately, sir, have you had high fever, a runny nose? When you eat your soup too hot with a little bit of spice in it, you spend a box of Kleenex on it. And you have said, no, I did not have a runny nose. It's called a lie. Of course you lie because you want to get your medication. No, I didn't have a runny nose. Because I like to use the chicken noodle soup. Very healthy. All natural product in it. Try the spicy chicken one and try not to have a runny nose. But it says here, the remnant of Israel will do no wrong, tell no lies, nor will a deceitful tongue be found in their mouths, because they will feed and lie down with no one to make them tremble. Has it happened? No. That's the new covenant. For a people to say no lies and never trembles and sell belt. Go to Israel today to the shop. You have belts. So sometimes the price is okay. Sometimes they sell a hat around the Temple Mount for triple the price. Because it's around the Temple Mount. It's like buying a t-shirt in Victoria on the government road close to the ocean in the souvenir shop. This will not be happening anymore. Why? Because they will be a regenerated nation. You will have the Gentile branch with your glorified body, and you will not overprice the hat. Because you will not tell lies like we do today. When they will ask you in the Messianic kingdom, did you have a runny nose? You will say, yes, I did, because I eat the chicken soup with spice in it. Telling the truth. The regathering of Israel, number 2. I'm not on the outline. On the outline, I'm still under A. The regathering. Regathering in the land. So the regathering of Israel is based upon the land covenant. You have all of this in your notes. The land covenant goes from Deuteronomy 29:1 to chapter 30, verse 20. I read it. I don't read it that time. This is the land covenant. If you want, I will make a covenant beside the covenant that I've made at Horeb. That's the land aspect of the covenant. 29:1 to 30:20. So basically 2 chapters almost. And you have a prophetic development of it. Trista, would you like me to open the door a bit? You're not warm? Okay, Isaiah 43. Come, Isaiah 43, you know, we're going to reach that Isaiah 43 in the near future, next fall, this coming fall. Isaiah chapter 43, verses 5, 6, and 7. Do not fear, because I am with you. I will bring your offspring from the east and gather you from the west. I will say to the north, give them up. To the south, don't hold them back. So, have you studied a bit of geography? Easy. East, west, north, south. So, it seems geographical. Talks about the land. Bring my sons from afar and my daughters from the ends of the earth. Everyone who is called by my name, whom I have created, whom I have formed, and whom I have made. Why these words? That's the same words that are used for the days of creation. Created, formed, made. Here is going to put them in their land in the state of belief because it connects with the national regeneration of Israel. A new creation, which we are in 1 Corinthians. You are a new creation. The old have passed, behold the new. So he will regenerate these people, his people. That was the teaching of the 5 minutes ago. And then bring them up. He will regather them in a state of belief for blessing. Not a regathering in wrath. It's a regathering in blessing for them to possess their land. And then this aspect is so great. This aspect of being regathered in their land is so great that I would like you to take time to come in Jeremiah with me, chapter 16. Jeremiah chapter 16. Bear with me. Lee and Lois, have you ever been in Israel for the Passover? Okay. You beat me. I've never been. Jeremiah chapter 16, you must have flown before, because to fly on that week, thank you so much. Okay? Jeremiah chapter 16, verses 14 and 15. Before I read, I explain to you something here. If you turn around and you look at the Jews right beside Han and Cheryl, one of the biggest events in the year for these guys is the Jewish Passover. It's a family business, and they don't miss it. Okay? They drink real wine, real wine. They sacrifice a chicken, the ultra-Orthodox right there. That's their substitute. That's all they can put to death right now. And they make a big deal. A home, big deal. In a big room, specifically the wealthy that have big apartments and stuff like that at the table, celebrate from sundown to the day after, whenever the Passover falls. So for them, these guys, and even for all guys having rubbed shoulder with Orthodoxy, it's a big deal. And we make a big deal in that place because we break the bread and we talk about these things. But one day, that big deal of the Passover will become second in a sense. Jeremiah chapter 16, verses 14 to 15. Then I will cause your enemies to bring it into a land you do not know. Just a second. No, Jeremiah 16, I was reading from 15. Please forgive. Therefore, behold, days are coming, declares Jehovah, when it will no longer be said, no longer be said the following, as the Lord lives, who brought up the sons of Israel out of Egypt, out of the land of Egypt, but, as the Lord lives, who brought up the sons of Israel from the land of the north, from all the countries where he had banished them, because I will restore them to their own land, which I gave to their forefathers. So, there will be a point in Jewish history that the second regathering from the diaspora to give them the promise of the 1,000-year kingdom will overrule the Passover. It's going to become more meaningful because these guys celebrate the Passover in unbelief for most of them. For them, they recount the story of the Egyptian bondage. Us, we underline the story as being delivered from the bondage of sin. None of you were kept in bondage in Egypt. So it will be so important for them who do not die in unbelief, that when they will say, no longer Jews in Montreal and Quebec and so on, we will belong to our land, it's going to be an extra big deal overruling the Jewish Passover. The Jewish Passover will still be there. We will see that next week. But it will be the main event. It will no longer be said. Now it's going to be the big deal, the regathering. Are you willing to allegorize that? No? Amos chapter 9. Yes, Amos. It's not the name of my dog. There is a minor prophet called Amos. Chapter 9, 14 and 15. Amos chapter 9, 14 and 15. Amos chapter 9, 14 and 15. I will also restore the captivity of my people Israel, and they will rebuild the ruined cities and live in them. They will also plant vineyards and drink their wine, and make gardens and eat their fruit. I will also plant them on their land. It belongs to them. It's a Jewish book. And they will not again be rooted out from their land, which I have given them, says Jehovah of hosts, or Jehovah God, rather. The regathering. You make a note only, Zephaniah chapter 3, 18 to 20. Zechariah chapter 10, verses 8 to 12. Number 3, under capital A, the possession of the land. The regathering, but they will possess the land. The regathering is one thing. Possessing it is another thing. Lois mentioned that land was not given we recognize you, we give you the land as a good deed for the Gentiles. The land of Israel, it's based upon the Abrahamic covenant. And I have too many passages. And my main passage is this. So we call it being done, eh?
François, are you still in the...
Capital A, yes.
The fourth...
Correct, the fourth facet. Okay. We work on the third facet right now. Okay? Write that down and you know what I mean by this. To you, to you, to you. Unto you, Abraham, unto you, Jacob, unto you, Isaac. Chapter 13, 26, and 28. That's based upon the Abrahamic covenant. Unto you, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Unto you, and to your descendants, unto you. I made a big deal out of it last week and the week before. Unto you, to you, to you. But they died. Physically, they fall asleep. So, what God is obligated to do, please tell me. Resurrect them. Can Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob resurrect themselves? No. Why? Because these covenants are
Conditional.
So if it's not conditional, it means that it's unconditional. The responsibility of bringing these things to pass belongs to God. Can you resurrect yourself? So who gets the glory? There is too many passages. It's too much. In Genesis chapter 15, make a note. I did that sketch often in my life with you. Genesis chapter 15, verses 12 to 21. It's kind of an interesting 13. And you place chapter 15. What's happening in 15 right now? You don't remember. I will remind you. It's no big deal. In chapter 13 and 12, he gives the covenant. And in chapter 16, not 16, 15, you need to sign the covenant. This is my signature. It's not a joke, it's my signature. François Blouin. Or more. I signed the document. To my rent, you need to sign the rent agreement, and you sign whatever in your life you sign. And in Genesis chapter 12 and 13, I will finish with this right now. God made a covenant with Abraham. And he said to Abraham, get animals. I'm paraphrasing the whole chapter. cut them in two. I'm a cow. Do I look like a cow? No. Cut them in two, not like this. Chainsaw. Make them in row, side by side. So half of my cow carcass goes on the left-hand side, and the other half goes on the right-hand side, like the parallel tables that we have here. And God put Abraham in a visionary sleep. When you make a covenant in the Old Testament with another person, you take the hand, and we walk both parties between the animal carcasses because there is blood, and you sign a covenant by means of blood. And both of us, we walk because when you make a covenant with a human being, I have my responsibility of bringing my part to pass. And she has her responsibility to bring her part to pass. That's why the two parties, they walk in the animals and there is shedding of blood. And you always sign a covenant by means of blood. But Abraham was a bit too much wine. And he put Abraham to sleep. Abraham never walked between the pieces of animal. And then the Shekinah glory appeared. And Abraham, before he fell asleep, was trying to push the birds away. The black birds were willing to eat the carcasses. They represent a bad omen, so he was chasing them away. And then the Holocaust was consumed by only one person, walking between the two pieces, and the fat of the animal and the real meat was cooked, microwave, by the visible presence of the Messiah. And then the covenant was signed, resting on one set of shoulders. God. Abraham never walked. He never walked. So the responsibility of bringing these things to pass rests on God's shoulder. So therefore you, church people, the responsibility of bringing your salvation to pass does not rest upon you. You don't have the capacity to save yourself, nor do you have the capacity to unsave yourself. He has chosen you. He passed onto the covenant only by himself, and he will bring to pass what he needs to bring to pass with you, and to reassure and give you a guarantee of your eternity and an eternal security, no less. No less.
Thank you, Jesus.
No less. Because you did not pass into the torch and the Abrahamic covenant into your seed, Abraham. Now you fit into your seed, Abraham, singular. All the nations of the earth will be blessed. Now you fit. German, French Canadian, I still don't believe it. Irish people. First Nation people, Asian people, included in. On this one, have a great weekend. Ernie.
We thank you, Lord. We thank you, Lord, for the lessons today. And we please bless them to our body, that we will understand and be able to grasp this in the weeks coming ahead. We ask, Lord, that you continue blessing each one of us here and direct and guide us in all things. We ask this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.